Nietzsche didn't just criticize the Bible, he diagnosed it. And his diagnosis was that it is the greatest crime ever committed against the human mind. Not a flawed book, not an outdated one, a crime. A weapon, he said, built and refined over 2,000 years aimed at the one thing you'd never think to protect, the way you feel about yourself. And here's his claim, the one this whole video is about. That weapon worked on you. Whether you've read the Bible or not, whether you believe in God or not, whether you've ever set foot in a church in your life, the guilt you carry, the flinch when you rest, the apology you feel for wanting things, the sense of being watched when no one is looking. Nietzsche says none of that is natural. It was installed. And he wrote an entire book to show exactly how the installation was done and who benefited from it and what it cost you. That's what we're doing here, walking through his case the way he actually made it, the crime, the mechanism, and the exit. And at the very end, a single question Nietzsche designed to tell you in about 5 seconds whether the machine still owns you. Most people fail it. Keep it in the back of your mind. We'll get there. Before we start, do one thing. In the comments, one word. What's the thing you feel guilty about most often? Not the worst thing you've done, the everyday one, the one that's just always there, humming, resting, eating, wanting more, saying no. Type the word, then scroll the replies and watch how many strangers typed the same one. Nietzsche's whole argument, the entire crime, is sitting right there in that comment section. Thousands of people, all guilty, all about the same handful of things, and almost none of them can tell you who decided those things were wrong. One thing to be clear about before we go in, so you know what this is and what it isn't. This is Nietzsche's case, argued the way he argued it at full strength. He is not a gentle thinker, and I'm not going to water him down. But this is not a video mocking anyone's faith, and if you're a believer, don't leave, because honestly, this video is about you least of all. It's about a mechanism, and the mechanism, as you're about to see, runs in atheists just as hard, sometimes harder. The guilt outlived the God. That's the part almost nobody talks about, and it's the part that matters. Okay, the case. In 1888, in the last sane year of his life, Nietzsche wrote a book called The Antichrist. The title sounds like a horror movie, but in the original German, it also reads as The Anti-Christian, and that's what the book is, not a devil worship manifesto, a prosecution, a man laying out charges, and the charge on the first page is the one in our title. He called the Christianity the one great curse, the one great innermost corruption, and he said he calls it the one immortal blemish of mankind. His words, not mine, not a YouTuber punching up a thumbnail, his. So when the title of this video says he called it the greatest crime in history, that is not an exaggeration for clicks. If anything, it's softer than what he actually wrote. And before we walk the case, you need to know who's making it, because Nietzsche is probably the most misquoted, most misused philosopher who ever lived, and the cartoon version of him will get in the way. The cartoon says he was a hateful man, a nihilist, someone who believed in nothing. The reality is almost the exact opposite. Nietzsche's entire war was against nihilism, against believing in nothing, and his accusation was that the Bible's moral system is what produces nihilists, by teaching people to reject the only life they have. He was a sickly, half-blind, mostly solitary man, a former star professor who gave it all up, who lived in cheap boarding houses and wrote books almost nobody read while he was sane. And one more thing the cartoon gets wrong, and it matters for everything that follows. His fury was not aimed at the figure of Jesus. He had a strange, almost tender respect for the man himself, a person who, in Nietzsche's reading, actually lived what he believed and paid for it. The fury was aimed at what got built on top of him, the system, the institution, above all, at Paul, the organizer, the one Nietzsche accused of turning one man's life into an empire's operating manual. Keep that distinction in your pocket. The case is not against a man from Galilee. It's against a machine that wears his face. Now, a man doesn't write like that because he's mildly annoyed. Nietzsche wrote like that because he believed he'd caught something enormous. A theft so big and so old and so successful that nobody could see it anymore. The stolen thing wasn't money or land. It was your instincts, your pride, your right to exist without apologizing for it. And to understand the theft, You have to understand the thing he found at the bottom of it, the move he considered the cleverest trick in human history. He called it the slave revolt in morality, and the story goes like this. Picture the ancient world, rough place. In that world, the people on top, the strong, the healthy, the nobles, they had a simple way of valuing things. Good meant strong. Good meant proud, capable, alive, winning. Bad just meant weak, sick, low, common. It wasn't kind, but notice one thing about it. It was honest. It valued what life itself values: health, strength, growth, vitality. Now picture everyone underneath, the conquered, the enslaved, the powerless. They can't fight back, they can't win, they don't have the swords or the numbers. So over generations, says Nietzsche, they pulled off the most brilliant move ever made by the losing side of anything. They couldn't beat the strong, so they redefined the words. They flipped the scoreboard. Strength became evil, pride became sin, power became corruption, wealth became wickedness. And on the other side, everything the powerless already were, poor, meek, humble, suffering, submissive, all of that got renamed. It became holy. Blessed are the meek, blessed are the poor, the last shall be first. Look at what that move does. The slave doesn't have to become strong anymore. He just declares strength evil, and instantly, without lifting a finger, he's morally superior to his master. His weakness isn't a misfortune anymore, it's a virtue. His suffering isn't bad luck, it's a badge. And the master, the healthy, thriving, powerful man, wakes up one morning inside a story where everything he is wicked. Nietzsche's point is not that the slaves were villains. His point is that this was revenge. Revenge through the only route available, through values instead of weapons. He called the feeling underneath it ressentiment, a festering creative resentment that can't strike back openly, so it poisons the well instead. And his devastating claim is that this inversion, this flipped scoreboard, is the operating system of the Bible's moral world. Not wisdom from above, resentment from below, dressed in robes, and so successful that 2,000 years later the whole planet runs on it and calls it simply being a good person. And if this was a crime, Nietzsche believed it had an architect, not Jesus, Paul. This is one of the most provocative moves in the whole book, so hear it the way he made it. In Nietzsche's reading, the man from Galilee lived something genuinely unusual, an immediate, practiced way of being, no resentment in it, and he died without founding anything. What happened next is where the crime begins. Paul, a man Nietzsche describes as burning with the very ressentiment we've been talking about, a man of enormous organizational genius who could never hold power in the Roman world on Roman terms, took that life and converted it into a system. The death got reframed as a payment for your guilt, which meant, for the machinery to work, you had to have guilt, permanently, from birth. The kingdom within got relocated to an afterlife, payable upon submission. The living example became a required belief, policed by intermediaries. In one generation, Nietzsche says, a way of living was converted into a means of control, and the convert did what conquerors with swords never managed. He got the whole empire and then the world after it to internalize its own jailer. You don't have to buy every detail of that history to feel the force of the point. The question it plants is the one that matters. When you trace any moral rule you obey back to its source, who do you actually find there standing there? A truth or an interest? Sit with that, because it's the foundation. Every time you felt ambition is dirty, that wanting more is greedy, that being proud of yourself is arrogant, that putting yourself first is selfish, Nietzsche wants to know, who told you that? Where did that rule come from? And his answer is, it came from people who couldn't win, redefining winning as a crime. You've been playing your whole life by a rule book written by resentment, and you never even read the credits. But here's the question that should be bothering you already. Why would a whole civilization accept a flipped scoreboard? A lie that big doesn't survive 20 centuries unless it's clamping down on something enormous. It is. And the thing it clamps is the most misunderstood idea Nietzsche ever wrote: the will to power. People hear that phrase and picture tyrants and jackboots, and that misreading has done a century of damage. What Nietzsche actually meant is closer to this. Every living thing carries a drive, not just to survive, but to grow, to expand, to become more of what it is. The oak isn't trying to stay alive, it's trying to be the biggest oak the soil allows. The artist isn't painting to eat, she's painting because something in her demands to come out and stamp itself on the world. The athlete, the builder, the founder, the kid obsessively mastering a game, all of it is the same torrent. Life wanting more life, force wanting to spend itself. That current is not evil. That current is what being healthy is. And Nietzsche's charge is that the biblical system found humanity's main artery and put a clamp on it. It took the growth drive itself, the thing in you that wants to be bigger, louder, stronger, more, and it labeled that drive the enemy. Pride, the feeling of your own strength, became the deadliest sin on the list. Not murder. Pride. Sit with what it means that a moral system put the feeling of your own strength at the top of its most wanted list. A system does not criminalize what it isn't afraid of. But a flipped scoreboard on its own doesn't control anyone. To control a person for life, you need something stronger. You need them to police themselves. And this is where the case gets personal, because this is the part that's running inside you right now. The mechanism. Guilt. Nietzsche looked at guilt the way an engineer looks at a machine, and what he saw was this. Guilt in the biblical system is not a feeling you sometimes have when you do something wrong. It is a permanent condition you're assigned at birth. That's the doctrine of original sin, and Nietzsche considered it the single most devastating psychological blow ever struck against the human being. Understand what it actually says. It says you arrive broken, not neutral, not full of potential, broken, guilty before your first breath, carrying a debt you did not incur and can never, ever pay off on your own. Think about that as a design. If I can convince you that you owe a debt just for existing, I own you forever. Not with chains, with bookkeeping. You can't pay it off, so you can never walk away. You need the one who holds the ledger. You need his forgiveness, his mercy, his mediator on his terms for the rest of your life. And any self-esteem you might build, any moment where you stand up straight and feel like enough, the debt is right there to remind you. You? Enough? You were born wrong. And the machine has a second gear, which is where it gets truly clever. It doesn't just condemn what you do, it condemns what you feel. Desire, and you're lustful. Pride in your work, and you're vain. Anger at injustice, and you lack faith. Hunger, ambition, wanting, the entire natural voltage of being a living animal, all of it reclassified as sin. Which means you don't just commit sins now and then, you are sinning, quietly, constantly, just by having a pulse. Your own heartbeat becomes evidence against you. And here's the genius of it, the part Nietzsche couldn't stop staring at. Once every natural impulse is a crime, the prison doesn't need guards. You guard yourself. The wall is inside your skull. The watchtower is your own conscience. You monitor your thoughts. You audit your desires. You feel watched even when you're completely alone, because the judge was installed on the inside. Nietzsche saw people, whole civilizations of people patrolling their own minds around the clock, punishing themselves for feelings, reporting themselves for wanting things, and calling this exhausting self-surveillance a good conscience. And notice what this does to a person over a lifetime, because this is where the crime stops being history and starts being biography. A creature that polices its own thoughts never rests. There's no cell door to rattle, no guard to outwit, because the guard is you, and you are always on duty. Every flash of desire triggers an internal report. Every proud moment gets audited for arrogance. Every no you say to someone comes with a hearing held in your own head, where you are both the accused and the prosecutor, and the verdict is usually guilty. Nietzsche had a word for what this produces. He called it the bad conscience. The instincts of a healthy animal denied any outward expression, turning inward and attacking their owner. All the force that should have gone into building, wanting, fighting, living gets redirected against yourself. You become a creature at war with its own engine. And a creature at war with its own engine doesn't need to be oppressed by anyone. It oppresses itself, around the clock, for free, and thanks the system for the privilege. And who collects on all this? Follow the money, Nietzsche says, or rather, follow the guilt. It flows to the priest. And here he makes the observation that once you've heard it, you cannot unhear it. The priest does not want to cure your guilt. The priest wants to manage it. Because think it through. If you were ever actually cured, if you woke up one day whole, clean, owing nothing, trusting your own nature, needing no mediator between you and existence, what happens to the priest? He's out of a job. The entire structure runs on your brokenness. It needs you to stay a sinner. So it forgives you, sincerely, warmly, week after week, and the forgiveness never quite takes, does it? You're always dirty again by Sunday. The debt refills like a tank. That's not a flaw in the system. That is the system. A cure would kill the business. So the business, generation after generation, makes sure the sickness is renewable. The loop looks like this, and watch how tight it is. The rules make you fail, because the rules criminalize your instincts, and no living creature can obey them completely. Failing makes you guilty. Guilt sends you back to the authority for relief. The relief is temporary, the rules stay. So you fail again, and you're guiltier, and you go back again, and every trip around the loop cements the authority's grip a little deeper. It is a perfect circle, powered by human insecurity, and it has run for 2,000 years without a single mechanical failure. Except, a circle that tight has one vulnerability, and the system's builders knew it. A prisoner with even one safe place to stand can push back. You have exactly one. So watch what the machine does about that. Now stack the next piece on top. Your body. Your one patch of undeniable ground, the thing that's yours before any rule touches you. So the body gets condemned too. The body in this system is the enemy, the seat of temptation, a sack of decaying meat your pure little soul is unfortunately trapped inside. Your sexuality shameful, your appetites dangerous, your physical vitality a distraction from higher things. Nietzsche called this what it is, a training program in self-disgust. Teach a creature that its own body is the enemy, and you've broken it more completely than any whip could. It now fights itself. It funds its own occupation. You don't need to conquer a species that has been taught to be at war with its own flesh. And the machine has one more gear here that's easy to miss, because it looks like the nicest part. The glorification of suffering. In the biblical moral world, the sufferer is the hero. The martyr is the highest human. The image at the center of the whole faith is a man being tortured to death. And that image is presented as the peak of virtue, the thing to imitate. Nietzsche stared at that and asked the question nobody asks. What does it do to a civilization to put agony on the altar? What happens to people when the most sacred picture they own says that goodness looks like being destroyed? His answer? It teaches them to treasure their wounds. It makes suffering into a currency. You see it everywhere once he points it out. The quiet competition over who has endured more, the suspicion that anyone thriving must be shallow or corrupt, the deep reflex that says pleasure is guilt and pain is proof of depth. The system doesn't just excuse your suffering, it rewards it. It tells the person at the bottom, your pain is your crown, don't you dare put it down. Which is, if you think about it for even a second, the perfect message to give someone you'd like to stay at the bottom. Comforted, decorated, and exactly where they are. There's one more count on the charge sheet before we get to what it all did to you personally, and it's the one Nietzsche thought would do the longest term damage, The system claims one morality for everyone, one template, the same rules for the timid and the bold, for the mediocre and the brilliant, for the man built to tend a garden and the one built to cross an ocean. Nietzsche thought this was insane on its face. Different creatures flourish differently. What's poison for one nature is food for another. A morality that actually served life would have to fit the organism, the way a diet or a training program does. But a single, fixed, universal rule book, identical for all, serves exactly one purpose. It makes people manageable, interchangeable, a herd. And a herd has one supreme value that it enforces above everything, and that value is, do not stand out. Be like us, want what we want, fear what we fear. Nietzsche watched this herd instinct absorb the biblical framework and then outlive it, and he predicted with unnerving accuracy what it would produce: a civilization of comfort, risk-averse, offense-averse, greatness-averse. A world that says it wants excellence, but punishes anyone who visibly reaches for it, that mocks ambition as cringe and calls resignation self-care. He even gave that end state a name: the last man, the creature who no longer strives for anything, who blinks and says, "We have invented happiness," and means the couch. Look around and tell me he missed. And then the final lock on the door. This is the part almost everyone misses because it's disguised as the kindest promise in the whole book: heaven. The masterstroke, because a prisoner might still rebel if this life is all there is, if the stakes are here. So the system moves the stakes. It tells you the real life is the next one. This world, your one actual world, gets downgraded to a waiting room, a test, a fallen temporary thing you should not get attached to. And Nietzsche asks the only question that matters about that: what does a person stop doing once they believe the real life is later? Everything. Why fight injustice here? You'll be compensated there. Why build? Why create? Why demand better? Why live at full intensity? This is just the lobby. Heaven in Nietzsche's reading is not a hope, it is a bribe, a payment in imaginary currency for your compliance in the only world that actually exists. He said Christianity taught men to despise the earth, and a man who despises the earth will let anything be done to him on it, because he's already left. To feel the size of what was lost, Nietzsche says look at what got replaced. He was a scholar of the ancient Greeks before he was anything else, and what he loved in them was one specific capacity we no longer have. They could look straight at how brutal life is, no afterlife to soften it, no cosmic justice coming, gods who were frankly worse behaved than the humans, and their response to all that darkness was not to invent a heaven, it was to build. Tragedy, sculpture, philosophy, the Olympics. They took the full horror of existence and answered it with beauty, competition, excellence, more life. Nietzsche called this the tragic yes, saying yes to a life you know will hurt you and end, and making something magnificent out of it precisely because nothing is promised. That, to him, was human health at its peak. And that is the thing the new system killed. It looked at the same brutal world, and instead of answering it with creation, it answered it with a promise: endure, submit, wait, and you'll be paid later. The cathedral replaced the arena. The confession replaced the contest. Waiting replaced making. And a species that once answered the void with art learned instead to answer it with an apology. So, look at the whole machine assembled, because this is the crime laid out. Flip the values so strength is evil and submission is holy, assign guilt at birth so the debt can never be paid, criminalize the instinct so the prisoner polices himself, condemn the body so he has no ground to stand on, and price the whole thing in afterlife money so he never demands payment here. That, said Nietzsche, is not a religion that happens to have some harsh rules. That is the most sophisticated apparatus of psychological control ever constructed. And the proof of its brilliance is that its prisoners defend it. They pass it to their children. They feel grateful for it. The cage got so comfortable and so old that it became invisible, and anyone who points at it sounds insane. And if the story ended there, this would just be history, a dark chapter safely behind glass. It doesn't end there, because the machine did something nobody expected, not even the people running it. It survived its own death. Nietzsche announced that God is dead. Everyone's heard that line. Almost everyone misreads it as a celebration. It wasn't. It was a warning, and the warning was this: the belief is dying, but the machine doesn't stop when the belief dies. The guilt survives the God. The software keeps running after everyone's forgotten who installed it. The full passage where he says it is one of the strangest things in philosophy, and it's worth knowing because it's nothing like the bumper sticker. It's a parable. A madman runs into a marketplace in broad daylight carrying a lantern, crying, "I seek God, I seek God." The people standing around are atheists, modern types, and they laugh at him. Did God get lost, they joke? Is he hiding? And the madman turns on them and says, "We have killed him, you and I." And then he asks the questions nobody in the market is ready for. What did we do when we unchained this earth from its sun? Where is it moving now? Aren't we straying as through an infinite nothing? Who gave us the sponge to wipe away the whole horizon? The crowd goes silent, and the madman realizes he's come too early. The deed is done, he says, but the news hasn't arrived yet. People have stopped believing, but they haven't yet understood what they lost when they stopped, or what it will now demand of them. Because the old system, whatever Nietzsche thought of it, did one enormous job. It carried the weight of meaning. It told you why you were here, what mattered, what the rules were, and what it all added up to. Kill it, and that weight doesn't evaporate. It lands on you. Every question the system used to answer is now your personal homework. And Nietzsche's fear, the thing he spent his last sane years shouting about, was that people would refuse the homework, that they'd keep the guilt, lose the meaning, and drift, half numb, into exactly the comfortable nihilism we're swimming in now. The crime, then its corpse, then the vertigo. That's the modern condition in 3 acts, and he called all 3 from a century out. Check yourself against it, honestly. Do you feel a low hum of guilt when you rest? When you take a day and do nothing, is there a voice calling you lazy, telling you you're falling behind, that you haven't earned it? That's not you, that's the debt, original sin with the serial numbers filed off, the feeling that your existence is only justified if you're producing. Do you apologize for wanting things? Downplay your ambitions? Call your achievements luck? Shrink when someone compliments you because pride feels dangerous, like something you'll be punished for? That's the flipped scoreboard still running, strength recoded as arrogance, 20 centuries later in a person who's never opened a Bible. Do you feel watched? Not by anyone real, just watched, graded, like there's a file on you somewhere and it's not looking good. That's the installed judge still at his post long after the courthouse was demolished. Even the modern obsession with self-improvement, the endless fixing, optimizing, working on yourself. Listen to the assumption underneath it, that you, as you are not acceptable, that you arrived broken and owe the world a better version. That's not ambition, that's original sin in athletic wear. Keep going, because once you have the pattern, you see it running everywhere in perfectly secular clothes. The person who cannot accept a compliment, who has to deflect it, disown it, hand it back, because taking it would feel like theft. The one who can't spend money on themselves without a tribunal, but will spend anything on others because others are allowed to matter. The apology reflex, sorry to bother you, sorry, quick question, sorry. People apologizing for occupying space in a hallway, for taking a turn to speak, for having needs at all. The inability to say no without 3 paragraphs of justification, as if declining anything requires a legal defense. The feeling after any pleasure, any indulgence, any afternoon off, that a payment is now due, that you'll have to be extra good tomorrow to cover it. None of these people think of themselves as religious. Most would laugh at the suggestion, and every single one of them is running the old program to the letter. Existence as debt, desire as crime, the self as a case that must constantly be argued and can never quite be won. Nietzsche's darkest joke is that the modern secular world didn't escape the crime, it just lost the vocabulary for it. At least the believer knows the name of his warden, The rest of us serve the same sentence and call it a personality. And Nietzsche saved a special needle for the confident modern atheist, so if that's you, this next part is aimed at your chair. He noticed that the people who proudly dropped God almost never dropped the morality. They kept the whole furniture set. Selflessness is the highest virtue. Pride is a character flaw. Meekness is decency. The last shall be first rewritten as equality slogans. Guilt is the proof of a good heart. And they consider all of this simply obvious, just what any decent person believes, as if these values fell from the sky rather than out of a very specific book they claim to have outgrown. Nietzsche's point lands like a trap. Those values are not neutral. They're not the default setting of a rational mind. They're Christianity minus the ghost story, and holding them while mocking their source is like living in a house while insisting the architect never existed. He wrote that they've gotten rid of the Christian God and now feel obliged to cling all the more firmly to Christian morality. And he found the whole spectacle funnier and sadder than open faith. At least the believer's package is coherent. The secular moralist kept the sin and threw out the salvation, kept the debt and burned the forgiveness desk, which might be the worst deal on the table. If you're going to inherit a moral system, Nietzsche says, at minimum know that you inherited it. Then run the audit like everyone else. Nothing is grandfathered in just because you stopped calling it holy. The church emptied out, the guilt stayed. We didn't tear down the prison, says Nietzsche, we just repainted it, called the warden productivity or wellness or being a good person, and kept serving our sentences voluntarily. The crime didn't end, it went generic. So what's the exit? Because Nietzsche wasn't just a demolition man, whatever his reputation says. The last part of his case is the way out, and it is not what you'd expect, and it is much harder than it sounds. The exit begins with one question, aimed at your own guilt, every single time it fires. Who told me this was wrong? That's it. That's the crowbar. The next time the guilt hums, when you rest, when you want, when you're proud, when you say no, stop and interrogate it like Nietzsche would. Who decided this was a sin? Is this actually harming anyone? Or am I feeling bad because a rule older than my great-grandparents, written by people I'd never take advice from on anything else, says I should? Does this guilt make me stronger, or does it just keep me small, manageable, and back in line? Ask those questions honestly, and something uncomfortable happens. Most of your guilt cannot answer them. It has no case. It was never a signal of your impurity, it was a tool of your obedience. And a tool stops working the moment you can see it's a tool. Nietzsche called the full project the revaluation of all values. Not flipping the scoreboard back, not declaring cruelty good and kindness evil, that would just be a new slave revolt in the other direction. Revaluation means you take every value you were handed, every single should, and you put it on trial. The test is simple, and it's his. Does this value make life in me stronger, braver, fuller, more honest? Then it stays. And it's mine now, chosen instead of inherited. Does it make me smaller, sicker, more ashamed, more obedient? Then it goes, no appeals. It doesn't matter how old it is, it doesn't matter how holy it sounds. Age is not evidence. 2,000 years of repetition is not truth, it's just repetition. Run a few of them through the trial right now so you can feel how it works. Take the guilt about resting. Interrogate it. Is my rest harming anyone? No. Who benefits from my belief that idle time is sin? Anyone who profits from my output. Does this guilt make me stronger? No, it makes me a tired machine that can't stop. Verdict? It goes. Take the guilt about wanting more money, more recognition, more life. Is the wanting itself hurting anyone? No. Who taught me that hunger is greed? A system that needed hungry people to stay quiet. Does calling my ambition dirty make me better or just smaller? Smaller. Verdict, it goes. Now take a different one. The guilt you feel after genuinely wronging someone, cruelty, betrayal, a promise broken. Run the same trial. Did it harm someone? Yes. Does the discomfort push me to repair it and not repeat it? Yes. Verdict, that one stays. That one's real. And notice what just happened, because this is the entire skill. You didn't throw out conscience. You separated the guilt that protects other people from the guilt that only ever protected the system. One of them is yours, the other one was installed.
He described the whole journey in one image, 3 transformations of the spirit. First, you're a camel. You kneel down and load up everything you're told to carry, every rule, every should, every inherited guilt, and you say, I must. Most people are camels their whole lives and die under the cargo. Some become the second thing, the lion. The lion says, I will, and fights the great dragon whose every scale reads, Thou shalt. The lion is the rebel, the one who says no, who burns the rule book. And here's the twist almost everyone misses. The lion is not the goal. Rage is not freedom. A man who spends his life fighting his old religion is still chained to it, just facing the other way. The final form is the strangest one, the child. The child doesn't fight the old rules because the child was never impressed by them to begin with. The child creates new games, new values, its own yes spoken out of fullness instead of spite. That's the destination, not the man screaming at the church, the man who walked so far past it he forgot where it was and started building something of his own on new ground. And be honest about the price, because Nietzsche always was. The exit is lonely. Brutally so at first. The inherited rule book, whatever else it did, came with a crowd. Everyone around you is still playing by it, still measuring themselves with it, still comforting each other inside it. Step outside and you lose the easy warmth of automatic agreement. People will feel your questions as attacks. Some will call your new spine arrogance, your boundaries selfishness, your refusal to feel the old guilt a sign that something's gone wrong with you. You'll have moments, usually late, usually alone, when the old voice comes back sounding exactly like everyone you love, asking, who do you think you are? Nietzsche lived that price fully. He lost his friends, his reputation, his health, and he wrote through all of it that the loneliness was still cheaper than the cage. Because the herd's warmth has a cost too. It's just deferred. You pay it in decades of smallness, in a self you never met, in dying with the cargo still strapped to your back. The loneliness of the exit at least buys something. It buys you. And, he'd add, it doesn't stay lonely forever. Out past the walls, eventually, you meet the others who walked out too. Fewer of them, but those connections are real in a way the herds never were, because nobody out there is performing obedience at each other. Free spirits recognize each other, he said. It just takes a while to reach the open ground where they are. And notice what happens to love and friendship out there, because this surprises people. The assumption is that a person who drops the inherited rulebook becomes colder, more selfish, harder to be close to. Nietzsche argues the exact opposite, and once you see his reasoning, it's hard to unsee. Inside the old system, how much of what passes for goodness is actually fear? You show up because you'd feel guilty otherwise. You give because you're supposed to. You stay agreeable because disapproval feels like Judgment Day in miniature. That's not love. That's compliance with a warm coating. The other person isn't receiving you, they're receiving your fear of the rules. Now remove the fear. What's left is only what's freely given. When the free spirit shows up for you, it's because they chose you this morning again, with nothing forcing their hand. When they're generous, it costs them something and they paid it on purpose. When they tell you the truth, it's not cruelty leaking out, it's respect, the assumption that you're strong enough to hear it. Nietzsche thought this was the only love worth the word, not the herd's love, which is mostly mutual fear holding hands, the chosen kind, rarer, rougher, and real. A community of friends, he said, not a flock. You lose the crowd when you walk out. What you get back, eventually, is the first relationships of your life where nobody is performing. And for anyone who makes it that far, Nietzsche left a test. But before the test, one hard clarification, because there's a way to hear everything I've said tonight that turns it into garbage, and half the internet has already made that mistake. Dropping installed guilt does not mean dropping standards. Nietzsche is not handing you a permission slip to be cruel, to break your word, to treat people as furniture and call it strength. He had nothing but contempt for that reading. The man who hurts people freely isn't beyond the old morality, he's just beneath it,
a lion with no kill, all snarl. Nietzsche's free spirit is harder on himself than the church ever was. That's the part the edgelords skip. He holds standards, brutal ones, but they're his own, chosen, aimed at making him more capable, more honest, more alive, not inherited, aimed at keeping him obedient. The difference between the two isn't the presence of discipline, it's the author. A slave obeys rules he didn't write out of fear. A free man obeys rules he did write out of respect for what he's building. If your version of freedom makes you pettier, lazier, and worse to the people around you, you didn't escape the prison. You just moved into a dirtier cell and took the door off. That's not revaluation. That's decay wearing his name. So here it is, the test I promised you at the start, the one Nietzsche left to check whether you've actually escaped or just redecorated your cell. The one that tells you in 5 seconds whether the machine still owns you. He called it the eternal recurrence, and it goes like this. Imagine this life, your exact life, every detail, every pain, every embarrassment, every joy, repeating, forever. Identical, no edits, nothing removed, nothing added, on an infinite loop. Now honestly, what does your gut do when you hear that? If the thought is horror, if your whole body says no, not this, not again, then somewhere you're still living for the exit, still treating this life as the waiting room, still holding out for the payoff that comes after. The machine still has a hand on you. But if you could hear that sentence and say, fine, again, all of it, then you've done the thing the whole system was built to prevent. You've said yes to this life, the real one, the only one, on its own terms with no heaven attached. That yes is the escape. That yes is the one thing the crime was designed to make impossible. And don't rush past that test like it's a nice thought experiment, because Nietzsche didn't build it to be pleasant. He built it to be the heaviest question a person can hold. Every regret repeating forever. The thing you did that still makes you wince at night, again and again, on an infinite loop, with no lesson attached and no redemption arc coming. The years you wasted, unwasted by nothing, replayed eternally. Most people, if they're honest, can't get through the thought without flinching. And that flinch is data. It tells you exactly where you're still living on credit, still betting on a someday, an afterlife, a version of events where the bad parts turn out to have been for something. The eternal recurrence takes all of that away and asks what's left. Can you want this life as is? No appeal, no editor. Nietzsche called the person who could say yes to that amor fati, the love of fate. Not tolerating your life, not making peace with it, loving it, the actual one, wounds included, because it's yours and because it's real and because there is no other. He said that was his formula for greatness in a human being. Not to want anything to be different, not backward, not forward, not in all eternity. It's the highest bar anyone has ever set, and he knew almost nobody clears it. But the reaching for it, he thought, is what a human life is for. So, Nietzsche called the Bible the greatest crime in history. Now you've seen the full charge sheet. But before the verdict, make it concrete, because philosophy that never touches a Tuesday is just decoration. Here's what the difference actually looks like in one ordinary day. The old program wakes up already behind, already owing. It works through lunch to service the debt. It gets complimented and deflects, gets a free evening and fills it with productive guilt, wants something and pre-punishes itself for the wanting. It apologizes 11 times before dinner, to coworkers, to family, to the empty air. It goes to bed running the nightly tribunal, reviewing the day's failures, and loses, like always, and sets the alarm to do it again. Now the same day, after the audit, you wake up owing nothing because existence was never a debt. You work hard, but as a choice, aimed at something you actually picked, not as a payment on a loan you never took out. Someone compliments you and you say thank you and take it, because you did the thing and it was good. You rest in the evening without a hearing, because rest survived the trial and the guilt about it didn't. You say no to what deserves a no, cleanly, without the 3-paragraph defense. You want things out loud, on purpose. And at night, no tribunal, just the day, done, and yours. Nothing about the world changed between those 2 Tuesdays. Same job, same people, same bills. The only thing that changed is who's writing the rules you're living under. That's the entire revolution Nietzsche is proposing. It happens in one skull at a time, and it starts with a single audited guilt.
So there it is.
The full charge sheet, laid end to end. The inverted values born from resentment. The guilt installed at birth so the debt never closes. The instincts criminalized so you police yourself. The body condemned so you have nowhere to stand. Heaven dangled so you never fight for anything here. And the modern epilogue. The machine still running and millions of people who left the faith decades ago or never had it, still apologizing for resting, for wanting, for existing, without the faintest idea where the reflex came from. You don't have to agree with his verdict. Plenty of serious people don't, and the comment section is about to be full of them, which is exactly as it should be. But you do have to answer the question his case leaves sitting in your lap. The guilt you carry. The everyday one, the one you typed at the beginning of this video, did you choose it? Can it survive the question, who told me this was wrong? Because if it can, keep it. It's yours, honestly held. But if it can't, if it has no answer, if it's just an old voice from an old machine that was built to keep people small and obedient and paying, then Nietzsche's entire life's work comes down to one sentence he'd say directly to you. The prison door was never locked. You were just told you didn't have the key. So here's the last thing, and it's the one I actually want. Verdict in the comments. Was Nietzsche right? Is that guilt an installed cage? Or did he miss something real, something guilt actually protects? One word will do. Guilty or not guilty? Defend it if you want. I read every reply.